Well, good morning. It's good to be with you on this Monday morning. Hope all is well for you today as we begin our this busy week. Halloween's coming up. All Saints Day's coming up. It's we are quickly moving into the we had Fall Fest yesterday at church, and so I always say once you pass that Fall Fest window, get ready. I mean, there's something coming all the time. Things start getting crazy. I used to always joke, if you want anything done in life at the church, you better do it before Fall Fest because once Fall Fest gets here, it's on. I mean, it is on. So, hope you are ready for all that is to come for the rest of our year together here. So, today we're going to continuing in Luke chapter 14. Remember, I said last week, all that's going to happen in the next little bit is going to revolve around the scene where they are at this this Pharisees table. They're at a feast there. And so everything happening now is going to keep coming back to where they find themselves and how they're at this feast. And so Jesus has been talking about um, who is welcome at feast and who isn't, what the feast should be about. And so all of these parables and teachings now are going to have a lot to do with humility, with who do we serve, who do we follow, who do we worship, how do we live, all of these things. And so um, today we're going to be looking at Luke 14:25 through 33, where Jesus teaches us this. He said, "Now large crowds were traveling with him. He turned and said to them, 'Whoever comes to me does not hate his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether or not he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, This fellow began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes at him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciples if you're not willing to give up all of your possessions." So Jesus is here talking to people who have been witnessing the excesses of the Pharisees and the all that they had accumulated. And he's telling them that if they're not willing to, and this is two things he says here, which are very interesting to think about. One is he says, um, whoever does not carry the cross cannot be my disciple. And then before that, he also says, whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, cannot be my disciple. So first, let's talk about this notion of hating your mother and father, your siblings and all that. And let's understand that in context of Jesus' day. Because first, one of the first commandments is to honor your father and mother. So is Jesus here imploring us or telling us that we must violate the commandment and hate our parents? No, that's not what he's telling us. In fact, we can see Jesus' love for his mother in his ministry. Remember when he is on the cross, one of the last things he does is he looks at Mary and says to her, pointing at John, said, "Mother, woman, this is your son." And then to John, he points to Mary and says, "This is your mother." So one of the very last things that Jesus does before he dies on the cross is he makes sure that his mom is taken care of. So he is honoring his father and mother before he dies. What is this passage about then? When Jesus says you must hate your father and mother, hate your wife, children, brothers, and sisters, even your own life itself. You cannot be my disciple. What he means by that is ranking of priorities. You cannot prioritize anyone or anything above Jesus, even your own life. Nothing, no one, family, friends, yourself. can come before your walk with Christ, can come before Jesus Christ being Lord of your life. Nothing can come ahead of that. So he's saying, whoever comes before me, whoever comes to me and does not hate these, cannot be my disciple, even life itself. And so once again, he's not talking about what we think of as hate. We think of hate and we think of the modern concept of hatred. That's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about hating like we're not supposed to hate anyone as Christians. But people may hate something, this or that. He's not talking about hatred in that sense. He's talking about willing to, it's a ranking of priorities. Does my faith come ahead of everything in my life? To the point of my faith coming ahead of my life itself. That's what he's talking about. We see that when he next says, you must take up your cross. So remember, in Jesus' day, the cross was a device of torture. This would be like for us saying you must take up your hangman's noose. You must take up your electric chair. You must take up this instrument of pain and of death and of torture. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about hating. I'm sorry. He's not talking about. He's talking about the reality being of dying to yourself, of not prioritizing your needs or your wants or your stuff ahead of following him. This is much like hating your life. To take up your cross is to deny yourself, to deny what you want, and instead to follow what Jesus calls us to. And what we want might not always be the right thing, We want revenge sometimes. You know, we want to be exalted. We want our stuff. We want it to be about us. That's what we want. And that's not what Jesus calls us to. Jesus calls us to die to self, to die to our wants, to die to our desires. Because when we die to ourself and live to Him, we actually find life. Life is not going to be found in our consumption or in our abundance or in what we want. Life is only found in Him. So that's why He says, if you don't carry your cross, you're not going to be worthy of me. And he really wants people to think about this. He doesn't. Jesus does not want half-hearted disciples. So He says, the same way a king must count the cost before he goes to war. Um, know what you get into. Jesus tells us in Revelation, He doesn't want half-hearted disciples. Be hot or cold, but don't be lukewarm. Don't tiptoe into it. Don't half-hearted follow Jesus. What is that great line by C.S. Lewis? Uh, Jesus, the one thing Jesus cannot be is moderately important. Either He's Lord or He's nothing, but He can't be just something. Either He is Lord of Lords and King of Kings and all in all and everything. Either He is who He claims He is, or He's a fraud and a huckster, and He's of no value. But the one thing Jesus cannot be is moderately important. Either we serve Him as Lord, hating our life, laying down everything, taking up our cross, or we ignore Him. But we can't have it both ways. And that's why He says, consider the cost. Consider what your cost. Know what you're giving up. Take seriously this thing. Take seriously. And do we take seriously? Do we take seriously today the command of Jesus to lay down our life for Him? Do we take seriously today what it means to be a Christian? Have we considered the cost? The cost of discipleship. That's one of Dietrich Bonhoeffer's great books, is The Cost of Discipleship. Have we considered what following Jesus calls us to lay down? Have we considered that? That's what he's talking about here. And so today, let's prioritize Jesus above ourselves. Prioritize following Him above all else. Lay down our life for Him. Take up our cross. And in taking up our cross for Jesus, we actually find the life that this world cannot offer us. So today, know where true life is found. Hey, thanks for being with us. Hope you have a right rest of your day. We'll pick up tomorrow. for the rest of this chapter. See ya.